voices.
All right.
Too Daffy Duck.
Valley Girl.
This is kind of a long, at least we can get the most of the information. I worry that Sunfire will take a dump and there will be absolutely no technical documentation available. If I were going to be at the fest, this is one thing I'd like to collar on Bob, at least I have technical documentation developed and put into escrow and made universally available if the company should go under. That, I believe, is the only way they can justify their current practice of Sunfire only repair and still practice good stewardship toward their customers.
That's a great question. I'm not going to let it happen. I'm going to make sure that we have the service available, at least as long as I live. And after I die, somebody else will take it over. I'm not dying though. As Woody Allen said, you know, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it by not dying.
Just a comment, I'd like to thank Mr. Bob Carver for what he's done.
Thank you.
Was the change from the ALS Platinum to the AL3 design an attempt to make a smaller footprint, improve sound imaging, cost cutting, or some other reasons, or all of the above?
Mostly to make a smaller footprint and to reduce the price of the speaker so it would be more affordable to more people. But mostly to make a smaller footprint. There was a groundswell. Make it smaller, make it smaller. So I tried twice, going from the Platinum to the whatever the other one was called, the Silver, and then to the AL3. But the AL3, as the ribbon part sounds really great, but it has a different kind of sound because it doesn't have the dipole woofers. Some people liked it better, some people like the dipole woofers better.
So what is the most difficult advancement currently facing amplification development today?
That wasn't me.
The most difficult thing facing amplification development today, making it sound good. Because the new technologies that are being developed for amplification, those technologies haven't matured. There are so many smart, brilliant designers out there working on this stuff, but it hasn't evolved to the level that current amplification technology has evolved. And so we have to wait for a while until it does.
How many Silver 7s were made?
100.
Into the
Approximately.
public, or were part of those parts?
Now those are the Silver 7s. Those are all completed units sold to the dealers.
100 pairs or 100 units?
I'm not sure. My memory's failing. Did I tell you this?
You said 50 pairs, so 100 units the other day.
100 units. Yeah.
The
I probably looked
22
it up.
amp that we've seen on the form,
Pardon?
the 22 amp that we've seen on the form, the one that you currently use with the candy apple red and very expensive paint job.
Yeah, very expensive paint job.
How many of those were made?
About 4 or 5 sets.
Do you know what happened to them?
I can't. No, I don't. I know that Harry Pearson has one, which he still uses as a reference. And I never got one myself, and I don't know what happened to the rest of them. One's on the cover of, one's the logo of the CarverFest.
Yeah, Carver Radio website, yeah.
I don't even know where that one came from.
You said that one was a prototype because it was missing the bezels on the meters. There was a bunch of stuff missing. You thought that was actually a photograph of one of the prototypes.
That may have been a photograph. I could tell the prototype by looking at a picture. Next.
Is there anything in the Carver line you wish you would have done differently?
That's a really deep question. Would I have liked to do things differently? In hindsight, looking back, I could pick and choose a few things that I would like to do differently, but not very many things. Mostly, I'm pretty happy with it. For a while, we were coming out with a lot of stuff, cassette decks, stuff like that, and I probably would have wanted to do something differently there, but essentially, the answer to the question is essentially not really. Sometimes I out-cheapified myself when I built something by using parts that got noisy or broke after a while, like connectors. I would have, knowing what I know now, I would have chosen not to out-cheapify myself. I would have used better connectors that wouldn't break after a while, or controls that wouldn't get noisy after a while. But this stuff's been out now for going on 30 years, so you really can't complain too much about a 30-year lifetime.
On the same note, would you have done anything different as far as the corporation itself? Would you have not gone public knowing what happened? Or what would have
Well,
happened?
if I had had a crystal ball, of course I wouldn't have gone public if I knew that. But if I had a crystal ball, I would have seen it in advance and I would have taken steps to have my cake and eat it too. I would have been able to go public and I would have kept Zeus, my dog, on the board of directors. I wouldn't have put on outsiders. That was the mistake. I put on businessmen instead of people who had experience in the audio industry. That was my big mistake.
Considering that the Silver 7 amps and the amazing loudspeakers were at the top of the heap sonically, what systems today that you've heard of represents that kind of sonic reproduction? And can it be replicated so as to make it more affordable for the audiophile that loves great sound but has limited resources?
Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, it can. Yes, and it's represented by the 2 amps that we have here today, the 2 tube amps that I brought. They're around someplace.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They're not as powerful as the Silver 7s, but within their power range, they really sound equal to the Silver 7s. They probably sound better. They've got that nice differential input. Nice color. Lots of output tubes.
Do you have any plans to build a more powerful tube amplifier?
No! 40 output tubes? Are you kidding me?
Is that something that might become a commissioned piece that could be purchased? The 20 tube that you're working on now? Or is this the 6 tube it?
No, probably not. However, every person has his price.
Would you be willing to donate a small portion of your brain to improve a member's brain?
Absolutely, but no scalpels allowed.
What do you consider to be the better amplifier? The Lightstar 2 or the Sunfire 300 x 2? And if so, why?
They're both my children. How can I choose? I cannot. That's tough. That's too hard for me to answer. They're both great.
Okay, seriously. The ST, can it be modded to sound the same as the 9T monoblocks?
Yes.
If so, how?
Well, there's no simple answer. What I have to do is get them both up on the bench, characterize the transfer function, and then change parts inside of the amplifier to make both transfers functions identical. And then they would sound the same. Or at least there would be no mechanism that would cause them to sound any different. Make them sound different.
Is there any piece of Carver gear that isn't here that you would like to hear?
I'll tell you, I had no idea how many Carver things I've designed in my lifetime. It blew my mind. I've blown my own mind walking around and seeing all of these Carver amps. I mean, it's a mind blower for me. I'm blown my own mind. So, no. Or maybe yes. I can't figure out what the answer is. Yes or no.